What are you doing?
Person who can catch fly can accomplish anything.
Did you ever catch one?
Not yet. For God's sake. Welcome back to the channel and our daddy-daughter TV review of
Cobra Kai Season 1 and 2.
This is actually the first TV review we've ever done on the channel, though we will be touching on the Karate Kid 1 and 2 films which we both saw recently. So Bethan, for someone who hasn't seen Cobra Kai, what's it all about?
Cobra Kai is about Johnny and Daniel,
Danielson.
who absolutely despise each other with all their heart and soul. They are both trying to complete the same goal, which is to open a karate dojo. But because they are both trying to do the same thing, they keep clashing with each other, which does not work because they still hate each other.
So how does Cobra Kai tie in with the Karate Kid films?
It's not just the fact that they are kind of building off the plot of the Karate Kid films, but they keep having these flashback type moments where they are like referring to what happened in the other films. Like just showing clips from what has happened previously, which really like accentuates the facts of like
Nice.
which really accentuates the facts of like what's going on and how like the same arguments are being revisited when they don't need to be.
Yeah. It flashes, the flashbacks are sort of integral to it as well, aren't they? They're really important to it, and it shows sometimes, like Bethan said, how it accentuates what's going on at the moment, but also sometimes flips it where you see that where Johnny was the baddie last time and Daniel was the good guy, you see it from a different angle and you think, well, maybe Daniel wasn't really the good guy and he's kind of not the good guy now in this. I mean, Johnny's portrayed as a bit of an idiot and a bit of a meathead.
Because that's what he is.
Yeah. But he's kind of the goodie in this one. You actually root for him when in the old films he was portrayed as this sort of out-and-out bad guy. So there are lots of characters in Cobra Kai. Who are your standouts?
Well, for me personally, I really like Tori. I really like Tori because her character development takes us on an emotional roller coaster. So at first she comes in and she's just kind of seen as like the strong, independent person who can do things for herself because that's the way that she grew up as. And then near the middle of season 2, because that's the first season that she comes into, we start to see her as more of a bad character just because of how like everybody else that she's like kind of seen around is seen as like a good person, but she's not like that. And then near the end of season 2, we start to see her as a good character again because she started to do more things and we get to find out why she's like the way she is and how she had a difficult time when she was a kid.
I think nearly the best thing about this show for me is that all the characters are like that as well. They're not just good or bad. They've all got light and shade to them and sometimes they're a little bit bad. Sometimes they're a little bit good. They're real people, but they feel really real. And I think my favourite is Johnny because in the Karate Kid films, he's just this cut-out, nasty kid. But in this film, he's washed up, he's confused, he doesn't like the modern world. He comes across as the baddie, but he's actually trying to do some good stuff. But every time he tries to do some good stuff, he kind of messes it up and he goes back to square one or two. And then he's very flawed and it makes him really likeable. And almost the flip is Daniel, where he's got everything but these things start to fall apart and he's less likeable because you don't almost want him to succeed because he's already succeeded. He won the Karate Kid and now he's got this big car dealership, but I was less invested in him because he's a bit full of himself. You kind of want him to have a little bit of a fall, and he does. And then he gets more interesting because he's had a fall and then he realises his flaws. So what does the show do well in general?
Well, as we just said, the characters are like spot on. Like they feel like they're really there. It was just like somebody happened to have a camera on them at all times.
Well, they did.
Yeah, they did. But and then it's also really, really funny.
It's very funny.
They have some proper good jokes in there.
What was the funniest bit that we both laughed? Remember the one that we both really, really laughed at?
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
It's when Johnny's doing this sort of an internet campaign and he's getting someone to do a poster and put it on the internet, and then he says, put a couple of those hash browns at the end instead of hashtags. We're probably not so funny relaying that now, but at the time we both really laughed at it. And that's the best bit, is that I laugh at it as a 14-year-old, as a bit of a child, and Bethan as an 11-year-old. I mean, this is actually a 15, so Bethan probably strictly shouldn't be watching it. There's lots of swearing in it. There's lots of sort of sexual references, innuendo. Obviously, it's very violent, but it is really funny, isn't it? It's got a lot of heart, and it's just about suitable for an 11-year-old.
Yeah. And another good thing about it is how, like, when it wants to be, like, deadly serious, it can be. So, like, when we find out about the old, like, the person who started Cobra Kai, when we find out about his past, now he was in the military, and then...
Or was he?
Or was he? Because he's a liar. He is the biggest liar, like,
there's
ever.
going to be spoilers in this review, by the way.
Didn't know if you noticed that, but... And so he's just, like, making things up as he goes. And so he's trying to seem like a really good person when really he is not at all. We'd love to know what you would think about Cobra Kai. So tell us your favourite character and what you think will happen in the next series down below.
So is there anything you don't like or that doesn't work with Cobra Kai?
I personally don't think that the plot works all of the time. Most of the time it's fine how, like, we find out about all the characters' backstories and things. But then sometimes there are just some random things that really aren't important.
Yeah, it sort of throws the pace off a little bit, doesn't it? The main thing you want to know about is Daniel and Johnny fighting, basically. Not actually fighting, although they do. Spoilers. It's their battle, really, and sometimes it goes off into the sort of kids, bit melodrama, kiddie drama sometimes, which is okay. It's actually good. They're all really good actors, but that's my problem with it, is that sometimes it doesn't focus on the two most interesting characters, who are Johnny and Daniel. So if you were to rank the 2 Karate Kid films we've seen and the 2 seasons of Cobra Kai, what would your order be?
I would have it as season 2 first of Cobra Kai, because that's the most exciting. And then I'd have it as Karate Kid 1. And then I would have it as Cobra Kai season 1. And then I would have it as Karate Kid 2. Don't know where 3 is yet.
So I would have Karate Kid, the film, as number 1. Cobra Kai season 1 as number 2. Cobra Kai season 2 as number 3. And Karate Kid 2 as number 4. That's easy.
Well done.
Thanks. So what do you think season 3 will focus on, and what are your hopes for it?
I think it's going to focus on how, like, emotional it's going to be with, spoiler alert, Miguel in the hospital. And how, like, it's probably going to take, like, a whole season for him to get better.
Yeah.
And, like, I think there will be some extreme character development for Johnny, seeing, like, how his way of life is affecting other people so badly that people are getting seriously injured.
I think it's Harry, because he's going to deal with Kreese as well, because Kreese was back in charge, wasn't he, at the very end? So he's got to get knock Kreese off again, get his dojo back. But I hope they go back to more Johnny versus Daniel, because there was less of that in season 2 than season 1. I thought a bit too much of the kids, I thought, in general.
What is your summary of Cobra Kai?
My summary of Cobra Kai is it's really, really enjoyable. I'd never expected it to be enjoyable. It's really cheesy, but it's trying to be cheesy. And the Karate Kid 1 and 2 are very cheesy because they're 80s, and everything from the 80s is cheesy. But yeah, it's genuinely really well written, really well acted, really funny, quite sad at times, wasn't it? We were both quite teary at the end of season 2. Yeah, it's way better than it's kind of has any right to be, really. And what do you think overall? What's your summary?
I think that it did a really good job with, like, the main kind of features of it, like characters, development, and just, like, showcasing how, like, the series is coming together to form the bigger picture.
Yeah.
And as I said before, I didn't really like how there are like some just random bits and pieces to the plot that don't really add anything and just like makes it longer. But over that, I really, really liked it.
So Bethan, what is your score for season 1 and season 2 of Cobra Kai?
Season one, I would rate it an 8.5 out of 10. And season two, I would rate it a 9 out of 10.
Okay. You have to ask me now.
Yeah, I know. What was your score for Cobra Kai?
My score for season 1 is also 8.5.
You copycat.
Yeah, and for season 2, an 8. The old face. So I think that gives us, what, an overall score for Cobra Kai season 1 and 2, 8.5 out of 10.
Correct.
Thanks for watching.
Game over, man. It's game over.